Viewer contributions make local programming possible on WNIN. Become a member of WNIN with your contribution so we can continue to make this programming available. Visit WNIN.org and click on the donate button.
We're back for our second show of the month with a real guest this time, the prosecutor of Vanderburgh County, not that.
We're looking forward to it, Judge. Last week we did have, of course, Senator Blanks and the schedule from our congressman. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, the schedule hasn't changed for for Congressman Messier, but I'm going to leave those right here because we do have a live guest.
Before we bring our live guest on,
yes.
Last night I came home from class and it turned on Turner Classic Movies, and guess what they were showing?
Hoosiers.
The Music Man.
Capital P, and that rhymes with, that stands for pool.
And very good.
Yes.
Robert Preston singing that song, "We Got Trouble Right Here in River City."
Yeah, right here in River City.
We got trouble right here in River City. We can't pay our electric bills. We have now a road tax.
We do have a road tax visited upon us by Governor No Brains All Brawn, who said, I'm going to give you a $300 property tax break, but the local governments will have to raise your taxes. Oh, they didn't say that part.
Here's the part, too, that we have to come to grips with. Last night, the city road tax was approved, but
8-1.
But here's the thing. It wasn't just necessary to get extra money. It's now a prerequisite for any municipality to use state money. They have to have their road tax.
I mean, how sinister is that? To say, we're giving you a tax cut. Now, if you want local road money from the excise pool, you have to impose this wheel tax.
Just like the court's budget was cut by 5%, and what they were given, they would have to retain a certain percentage. They can't spend it. They have to retain that percentage and only spend it when the government allows them to spend it.
You know, you and I, it's summertime. We shouldn't have to deal with these waiting. We should be swimming with the manatee.
And we should be
hunting eucalyptus plants.
Gearing up for the big game this weekend.
Gearing up for the Hoosiers who take it to the home field in Memorial Stadium. But here's an idea I want to leave you with before we break and bring our guest.
Yes.
This station, because of votes has lost a lot of funding. So I've got an idea how to raise money.
How to do that?
What do we say that if Shively Shoulders gets, you name the price, this amount of pledges, we will both on this stage shave our mustaches.
Well, here's the good news for me. I can't get involved in fundraising, so I get to keep my mustache.
Oh, see? No longer would I look like Aphrodite, but we would do this for this station in order to raise needed funds.
Before we bring our guest out, I need to comment on something that was in the local news, it was national news, that the city of Evansville has one of the ugliest buildings in the United States.
And I agree with that statement.
Well, wait a second. Guess who determined that where they have an ugly building was a bunch of real estate executives from New Jersey, the Garden State, right? But here's the thing. That Civic Center may not be an architectural wonder, but it's one of the most functional buildings I've ever been in my life. It basically got us out of COVID. We were able to be functional. We were able to use the events plaza to conduct our courts. And it's served this community very well since 1969.
It was in that post-Soviet era, late 60s, early 70s, brutalist architectural period, where functionality was. But I think the picture showed, and we walked by there, early morning walks, we cut through there. It's that, I don't know if it's there to cool water. I don't know if it's there to heat the building. It's that god-awful fountain rusted metal thing that's in the picture.
I thought that's something your brother designed.
No. Couldn't we at least have Aphrodite, a beautiful statue, or man on horseback, or something?
Well, here's the last bit of bad news.
Yes? That Trump? Oh, no, go
Not
ahead.
only have we have to deal with restricted budgets because of the property tax situation, we now have this redistricting plan. They're talking about redistricting the entire state congressional districts. That's going to cost the taxpayers a bunch of money.
$500,000 just to have a special session to get it passed. That's ridiculous. Even back when you were an advocate and a Republican, you wouldn't have been for that.
I'm just an American now.
Indeed. And with that comment, you stay tuned, because when we come back, we'll have a real live guest, public official, seated right betwixt us.
And no props. And we are back. We're very honored this evening to have the prosecutor of Vanderburgh County, Diana Moers, to be our guest. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome back, Madam Prosecutor. It's been, what, 2 years since you were on? Year and a half?
Yeah, maybe a year and a half. I think this is my third appearance, right? I can't believe it.
Not only is she the prosecutor, she's a mother now.
I am.
That's correct. Yes. And that's, well, most importantly, and how's the little fella?
Francesca, little girl.
How's the little girl doing?
She's great. She's 6 months today. So it's amazing.
So 6 months, they can kind of giggle and sit up and all. They get fun.
Yeah, she's awakening to the world.
So. They giggle and sit up and spit up like Pat, right?
Yeah, they spit up,
I always thought there should be a place you could take them for the first month or two, you know.
You've heard Pat and I gripe about what happened this last session of the General Assembly. One piece of that legislation that affected you was this review board for prosecutors.
Yeah.
Explain to our viewers how that works.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I just was elected to the board of IPAC, so this is a hot topic, and I kind of got an inside view of the discussion of it. It's meant to address what they're calling rogue prosecutors. And, it's born out of...
What's a rogue prosecutor?
So a rogue prosecutor is someone... It's born out of, I think, Marion County, right? So Ryan Mears said, hey, I'm not going to prosecute any THC offenses, any, low-level THC offenses. And although that's a law that's on the books, he decided to make this declaration as a prosecutor that, hey, I'm not going to prosecute this crime.
Which he can legally do, because prosecutors have sole discretion as what crimes to prosecute and who to prosecute, right?
Well, you would think, but not really. So we have prosecutorial discretion, so we don't have to file any cases, we don't have to prosecute any cases that we don't want to, but we also can't make a blanket denouncement of the law.
Right.
So those two things are distinct.
Just so people understand, I as a judge, I can't command you to file charges.
Correct.
You're independent, totally independent.
Correct, yes. The prosecutor is on their own and making those decisions, and so it's different from prosecutorial discretion, which is made on a case-by-case basis for one reason or another, but it's different to say, hey, the legislature, who's elected by the people, puts a law on the books, and then the prosecutor should not act as a one-person legislature and say, hey, I'm not going to do this.
Who can file a complaint to this commission?
So that's interesting. I believe the power lies with potentially the governor's office or the attorney general's office. I don't know where that ended up landing. So,
well, good luck with that.
Yeah, there's lots of mandates and no funding for them, as we know. So I'm not sure exactly. They're supposed to establish a board, and interestingly, the prosecutors themselves have been left out of that discussion. So I don't really, and that was something that we, talked about. So yeah, we'll see what happens. And I know, we're not happy about it because every other prosecutor in Indiana is prosecuting the laws on the books, and everyone has their own initiatives and things like that. But for the most part, the police make an arrest, they alert you to something, and you look at it and say, okay, and you file your case, And I don't know that besides Marion County, there's been any mass declaration of I don't care what the legislature and the people said, I'm just going to do my own thing. So it's kind of unfair, I think, for them to decide for everybody that this needs to be established. So.
Right. So, Diana, can I call you Diana?
Yes, you can.
Prosecutor Moers. He's a little bit of an unskilled interviewer. Could we go back to the beginning rather than jumping right in the middle? The last time you were on, you were just brand new in the job. How's it going?
I love it. It's going great.
What has been the greatest thing, and what's been a big surprise? And just tell us about the gig.
Yeah, I think the best thing is the staff. That's the big unknown when you're running. It's and the whole time in my mind, it's I know what the law is, I know what prosecutors do, but I haven't met the people I'm going to be in charge of. So a lot of people don't know we have a staff of 72. They're incredible. And particularly, we have one thing I'm most proud of is that we've been at full staff for a long time now. So well over a year, we have someone moving, a deputy prosecutor, and we filled that right away. So that was always my concern, was finding deputy prosecutors to fill the spots. And one thing that I really worked on my first term, talking in council ad nauseum, and thank goodness I did it before the Senate Bill 1 happened. We got huge raises for the staff just to make them competitive. We were the lowest paid in the state with some of the highest caseloads, so it made us competitive with other prosecutors. We're not trying to compete with the public, or the private
sector. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, the private sector. I just wanted to be competitive to get other prosecutors to come to Evansville, Indiana, and prosecute, and that has happened. So that was a huge win for us. And
so you're happy with the staff, even though it includes Levco?
Even though it includes Levco,
okay.
Yeah. He caused me some problems, but yeah.
You told the story before, but tell our viewers again how you got to know Stan Levco and how he came back to help you out.
Yeah, so Stan Levco, I went to Delaware Elementary School. I grew up on 208 West Oregon Street, which if you drive to that house now, it's almost unrecognizable from when I grew up. And I went to Delaware, and Stan came to my school when I was a kid. It may have been in middle school. I went to Evans. I think I was in elementary school. And Stan was talking about what he did, and which is essentially, getting bad guys. He was a lawyer, though, and he was telling us not to use drugs, which I listened to, so his message was effective. And I just thought, wow, he was so charismatic, as you know, and I just followed his career. And I didn't pay attention to any other politician in Evansville growing up except the prosecutor. And I think he was on the news and he did outreach stuff. And so I just always thought, of him as the prosecutor, obviously. And even though he had a gap of a number of years, when I got elected, my husband and I would joke, like, wow, I'm going to be Stan Levco. It's like,
Good, I want you to set your sights so much higher than that.
I'm working on it. So I was like, it's my childhood hero. And so then I was telling this story to, Tom Langhorne covered my election and all that. And
who's that?
Foghorn Langhorne. He writes for the local rag.
As Bobby Knight once said, all of us learned how to read and write by third grade. The rest of us moved on to bigger and better things.
Yes.
Well, hey, you know what? As a new candidate, when press is free, you're talking to them.
Absolutely.
So, right? Yeah, so
absolutely.
I was talking to anybody that would listen, so I was doing that.
Including Shively Shoulders.
That's right. Here I am.
Yes,
Thanks, guys. So I just told him this story about Stan, and Stan is a Democrat, and he went to my opponent's stuff, and I don't blame anyone for that. Obviously, that's what you do, right?
Sure.
And no hard feelings. That he reached out to me. And so we sort of had this coffee meeting, and he said, well, he was kind of nervous after. I would love, you are one of the best prosecutors in the state, if not the country. You've done tons of murder trials. I would be an absolute fool not to get your experience on my staff and to learn from you. And I mean, so yeah, it's been great. And we've tried a big murder case.
You tried a case with him.
Yes.
Big case.
Yeah.
Tell our viewers about that.
Yeah, so we tried the murder of the fireman, Robert Dorr.
Right.
Last May.
The Fox case, right?
Yep, Fox Dorr was the defendant's name. It was it's a conspiracy case, conspiracy and murder. So Becky Fox Dorr is the wife of a fireman who paid someone to, or not paid, but conspired with someone, either for love or money or both, to gun down her husband in his driveway when he came home from work. And we got, it was a completely circumstantial evidence case. There's no witnesses. The bad guy gets to choose where they do their deeds.
Those are tough cases.
Yeah, it's a very tough case. We had so much evidence that we had to put together for the jury: cell phone location data and cell phone evidence and gun evidence and things like that. So luckily we got a guilty on that. It was amazing, and it's amazing working with Stan, and we couldn't be more different, right? So obviously I was the one doing all the cell phone data evidence and everything, and he was doing cross and things like that.
And Judge Pigman allowed cameras in the courtroom in that case, didn't he?
He did. It was Vanderburgh County's first case that was allowed to be filmed. And
if there are cameras in the courtroom, maybe I do some criminal defense work.
Hey, we have some part-time spots open. If you're serious, give me a call.
So what's been the biggest surprise when you got the first day of the office, and there's things you expected, and yet what?
Yeah, the biggest surprise or adjustment, I think, was just dealing with county council and then educating them on what the prosecutor's office does. I mean, I really don't think that people realize the huge role prosecutors and also the court system play in law enforcement, right? So you have all this law enforcement. So, we got the jail expansion going on, and we have Evansville Police Department, Indiana State Police, we have the sheriff's office. And then everything just funnels down to the prosecutor. So all the cases they collect, it funnels down to the prosecutor, we file charges, and then it's in the courts. And so I'm like, man, I could empty out the jail quickly if we had like 20 more people and the courts had a few more judges in courtrooms. So that part has been really hard. And prosecutors, our job is to make it look really easy by the time we get to the courtroom. Right. If you watch Stan and I, it looks like we just walk in, you know, for our fireman trial and just start showing the jury evidence, no problem. But as we all know as lawyers, most of the litigating is done behind the scenes, and there's lots of motions, and just, you know, we're considering the rights of the defendant 10 times before the defense attorney even gets it. So there's so much work that goes into a trial, and just the absolute incredible amount of work and expertise that's required to effectively and correctly try a case, educate the jury and the judge and the defense attorney, and to make sure you're meeting your burden and all of that, amongst all the other stuff you're doing during the day. Trying to portray that scene to counsel has been difficult, you know, just explaining the role that the prosecutors play in law enforcement. And I've worked really hard on that, and luckily they've been receptive to it, and that helped us get our raises. So
good. So let me ask you this. If I read the papers from time to time out of habit, your husband is the Republican county chair.
Yeah, that's
now,
right.
Does that, and congratulations to him.
Thank you.
Does that create problems, or could that be a potential conflict situation? I'm thinking if Nick got criticized because there was, I forget what it was, there was a Republican county attorney or somebody got charged with something, and they were dragging their feet, and you know,
allegedly.
Exactly, the whiff of political. Right. How are you going to handle that?
Yeah, so I've had one case so far. First of all, I always try to do the right thing. So if someone asks me about it, I can justify it, you know. And if, you know, you get that feeling in your stomach that maybe you should examine what you're doing, right? So there's one case that I had filed that I didn't feel political at all when I filed it. But then once my husband became party chair, I thought, hey, if this case causes a change in this person's position, then it's going to, you know, it could have the appearance of impropriety, right? So I had a special prosecutor handle that. So if there's anything that I feel like is going to look like some sort of political move or something like that. It doesn't matter if it is or not, right? As we know, when judges, for example, you know, we have to worry about the appearance of impropriety in the law. So if there's anything like that, I can get a special prosecutor.
And that would hold true if somebody accused you of playing favorites for your team or being vindictive on the other team.
Right, right.
Which is, I wish the Trump administration would figure out.
Let me ask you this. Speaking of Trump administration,
We've
seen the use of the military in Washington, D.C., which is a unique situation because that is a different entity.
Yeah.
But now they're talking about sending troops to Chicago.
Yeah.
How would you feel if you got a call from the governor or the president telling you that National Guard troops are going to be on the streets of Evansville?
Yeah, I would not like that. I would not like that.
Explain to our viewers why.
So, you know, the National Guard, they're not trained in police practices, right? So having someone from the National Guard make an arrest or, you know, I don't know, have a use of force incident or anything like that. The National Guard, in my opinion, is meant for absolute emergencies. Like, we're having riots here. We need someone to just hold the line and make sure everyone's safe, give people water in an emergency. I mean, just stuff like that. But having someone come in and have a police force then that's including the National Guard and the current, like in your scenario, if we had Evansville Police Department plus the National Guard, that would be almost ungovernable. I just don't understand how the logistics of that would work, who's in command, what's the chain of command, and also if there's a use of force incident or something happens, they're just not trained in how to make an arrest, for example, or, you know, and also as a prosecutor, I have the job, it's in the statute, that I have to educate the police on changes in the law and things like that. So what's the onus on the DC prosecutor to say, hey, here's the laws you need to be following. I need to make sure you're up on best practices and all that. Again, I don't think the public in general understands all that goes into, even if you want to stop someone on the street, put handcuffs on them. And having the National Guard, who's not trained for that purpose, I think is very dangerous.
Let me ask you this. Speaking of, one of the excuses for sending troops into D.C. was the crime rate. What is the crime rate right now in Vanderburgh County? The
crime rate is down, I'm happy to report. So, and I'm talking about specifically murders and fatal shootings. So right now, I think we're at about 5. I only have 16 murder cases pending right now. We've gotten through a lot of them. Of course, some of the murders are unfortunately like children or things like that that are not involving firearms. But the numbers are, so far this year we have 5, and then last year we had 11 gun crime, homicides, and then the year before that we had 9. But before I became prosecutor, they were into the double digits.
Really?
Yeah.
Speaking of murder cases, while we're talking about your wins, you had a celebrated one within the last, 6 months. An old case that you used your discretion, has decided to give it another go, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And listen, as trial lawyers, believe it or not, I've lost a few. So but you believe that was the right thing to do to bring that case to trial.
Yeah, yeah. So we, we weren't sure. We took it to a grand jury. So there were 3 people. Stan took it to the grand jury. I was on maternity leave at the time, and they indicted 1 person. We thought, we had great evidence for it. I still think that person's guilty, but we weren't able to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt in court. There was some evidence we didn't get in, like our motive evidence and things like that. We think would have maybe
damn judges.
I know, right? would have changed maybe the trajectory of what happened. But I'm glad that we, the family. It's justice is never going to bring anyone back. But to leave this thing unresolved and to put it in the hands of a grand jury and have them indict it, I mean, of course we're going to go forward at that point. So.
Let me ask you this.
No
We had
regrets.
a good case. Yeah, no regrets about that. I'd rather, make a swing and miss sometimes than not try at all.
The public is somewhat confused difference between grand juries and petit juries. How often are grand juries used, and why are they used?
So grand juries are used maybe in a case where this one was essentially a cold case. I mean, it was over 10 years old. And so we had a grand jury indict, here's what we have. The prosecutor, first of all, can just charge a case. You read a police report, you look at the evidence, and then you charge.
Not mandatory in Indiana.
Not mandatory, no.
To use a grand jury.
Yes.
Your discretion.
Yes, our discretion. So in Indiana, you can call a grand jury. So that's similar to a regular jury where, you get called for jury duty, you get called for grand jury duty here, and they listen, the rules are relaxed, and then they'll listen to the prosecutor and pretty candidly and say, here's what we have, here's what we don't have. And in our case, and I like that Stan does this, we discussed it before he did, the grand jury, is the standard isn't proof beyond a reasonable doubt, but we instructed the grand jury in that particular case that if you don't think that we'll reach beyond a reasonable doubt, we don't want you to indict. So they decided not to indict on 2 of the individuals, and they did on the 3rd one. And then,
That's interesting.
Yeah. So we do ask them.
Because grand jury proceedings are secret.
They are.
Not even judges know what goes on.
They are.
Another important thing that prosecutors do that I'm not sure the public is aware of, that's a critical part of your gig, is child support.
That's right.
Exactly.
Talk about that, and talk about, no doubt, what you've done in a year and a half to make that more effective.
Yeah, so I think last year we collected $39 million in child support, just to give an idea of how big the operation is. I have 72 employees in my office, and the majority of those are the child support section. That director is Matt Kepler. He is great. He's been doing it for years and years. In fact, we were invited to try a pilot program for child support for technology. That didn't work out, so we said, you need to go back to the drawing board. But we are looked at as a leader in the state for child support collection and just how smoothly our function is running. And recently, we worked with our sheriff, Noah Robinson, who noticed that, which is something that he brought to my attention, which I was grateful for, that when you're stopped and you have a writ for child support, to come to court and, be held accountable for that, the deputies weren't able to see that it wasn't like a civil thing, for example, like, your grass is too high or whatever it may be. So we changed that, so now we can see that it's child support, so that enforcement can go up, so they can arrest someone and bring them and hold them accountable. And it also let us tell the public, like, hey, this is going to happen, so please contact us. We'll work something out. We just want these kids to get their money.
Right.
So, yeah.
So in the last minute we've got, are you going to talk to the county chair about running again, or what?
I think so. I think he might let me. Who knows? I hope so.
You up again when? Next year?
Yes, next year already. Time really does fly.
It does fly. That means you'll probably have to come back on Shively Shoulders.
Hey, I'm up for it.
Well, as long as we don't have Senator Blank scheduled for that day, we'll be happy to have you.
I'll keep my fingers crossed.
We'll have you back, and I promise you no props.
All right.
Thank you for the job you're
being
doing,
here.
and thank you for being on Shively Shoulders.
Thank
When
you.
we come back, Les will unfairly attack me.
You can count on it.
Thank you.
back. Patrick, what a great guest.
A great guest. We got a scoop here.
Yeah.
She announced for re-election. What do you think about that, Senator, Congressman? Oh.
You know, I'm going to take away his toys so he can't distract me anymore. Patrick.
Yes.
So who are you guys going to run for prosecutor next year?
Well, that'll be tough. I think, you know, she's an incumbent. There's advantages to that. She's got name recognition. I'm guessing, sleeps next to the county chair. Therefore, I'm guessing the money in the Republican Party will be kind of put into the race if it's necessary. So that would be an uphill climb.
It'll be a tough.
I guarantee you, one that won't run be Stan Lefko, I'm guessing.
Right. You know, in that trial with Fox Duer, I watched Diana try that. She didn't just sit there. She wasn't just a figurehead. She actually participated in the trial. She did a great job. She did a super job.
It's good for prosecutors to try cases. We've had some that chose not to be involved in the courtroom and to serve as administrators. I've always thought the lead criminal prosecutor in this city should handle cases, just as long as it's not me or you sitting at the defense table.
Exactly. I agree 100%.
Well, we have more shows coming up in the next one. I think maybe it's just me and you and maybe the senator.
Not the senator.
But after that, we have the new school superintendent.
Exactly.
So right here, we continue to bring public officials and public figures to the attention of 5 million viewers right here on Shively Shoulders.
Go Hoosiers.